Hidden deep beneath the waves of the Western Pacific lies the Mariana Trench, the deepest point of all the oceans.
The scientists will be going, wow, we've found something, and what does it mean? Is it a little hole? Is it a big hole? What kind of feature is it down there?
The next World War won't begin in the sky or on land. It will ignite 7 miles beneath the ocean, in a place so dark and hostile we were certain nothing could live there. That assumption just collapsed. A recent mission to the bottom of the Mariana Trench returned with samples that have shattered our understanding of life, power, and the future of civilization.
Now, for reference, the Mariana Trench is deeper than Mount Everest is tall.
What if the most valuable resource on Earth isn't on land at all? What if it's been waiting in total darkness this entire time? This isn't a story about strange creatures or exotic geology. What was brought back is a biological key, one that could unlock 2 obsessions humanity has chased for millennia: unlimited energy and escape from death itself.
Beyond a certain level, the sea was pretty flat, pretty dead, fairly lifeless.
The microorganisms found down there don't just survive impossible pressure and toxic chemistry, they repair their DNA instantly, solving the very problem that causes aging and disease. And they exist alongside rare metals and frozen fuels worth trillions, resources capable of reshaping global power overnight. So the question is no longer what lives at the bottom of the ocean. It's who will control it and what they're willing to do to claim it. The secret in the sediment. We usually think of the ocean as a blue, sunlit place where dolphins swim and coral reefs flourish. But that image represents only the thinnest skin of something far more ancient and far more strange. If you want to see where the real story is happening, you have to go down, not just deep. All the way down to a place called the Challenger Deep, a scar in the Earth's crust that plunges nearly 7 miles into absolute darkness.
To see for themselves the lowest point on the planet, the Challenger Deep.
To understand the scale, imagine taking Mount Everest and dropping it into this trench. The peak would still be covered by more than a mile of black water. For generations, scientists assumed this place was essentially dead. The conditions seemed incompatible with life as we understand it. No sunlight penetrates that deep. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and the pressure exceeds 1,000 times what you are experiencing right now sitting wherever you are. That kind of force would collapse a human body instantly. It would crush steel. It would shatter anything we tried to send down there. But recently, a mission decided to take a closer look anyway. They sent a state-of-the-art submersible into the abyss, not for sightseeing, but for collection. The vehicle descended through miles of darkness and spent hours on the bottom, functioning like a deep-sea vacuum cleaner, sucking up massive quantities of sediment from the ocean floor. When that mud finally reached the surface and made it to laboratory analysis, the researchers expected to find rocks, perhaps some dead bacteria, maybe traces of organic material that had drifted down from above over millions of years. What they actually found was a hidden universe. The samples contained more than 7,000 distinct types of microorganisms. The vast majority of them, over 90%, had never been documented by science. They were completely new. It was like discovering an alien biosphere without ever leaving our own planet. But the truly disturbing part was not that these organisms existed. It was what they were doing down there. These microbes were not just surviving.
Underwater vents release methane from deep within the Earth, combining with microbes and sediment. The methane causes regular, circular shapes to form.
They were thriving in conditions that should have obliterated any form of life. They were metabolizing toxic chemicals that would kill surface organisms on contact. They were withstanding pressure that destroys submarines. And when researchers examined their cellular machinery, they discovered something that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. These organisms possess a biological repair system unlike anything we have ever seen. Their DNA gets damaged constantly by the extreme environment. But instead of accumulating that damage the way our cells do, they fix it. Instantly, continuously, perfectly. Think about what that means. In our bodies, DNA damage accumulates over time. That accumulation is the fundamental mechanism of aging. It is why we get wrinkles. It is why our organs fail. It is why we eventually die. But these creatures have evolved a system that prevents that accumulation entirely. They have cracked the code that evolution has been working on for billions of years. And now that we know it exists, the race is on to figure out how it works and who will control the technology that emerges from it. This is not just a scientific discovery. It is the most valuable biological blueprint ever found. And it was hiding 7 miles beneath the waves. The gold rush in the dark. The biological discoveries are revolutionary. But nations do not typically spend billions of dollars purely to advance medical science. They spend that money for power. And right next to those miraculous microbes, scattered across the floor of the Mariana Trench, lies something that could reshape the global economy overnight. They look like dirty potatoes. Small, lumpy, unremarkable rocks sitting on top of the sediment in the darkness. Scientists call them polymetallic nodules.
They're called polymetallic nodules. They're millions and millions of years old. And they contain what some say are the key metals needed to power the world's transition to clean energy.
But crack one open, and you are looking at the future of technology. These nodules are packed with cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese, the critical metals that power everything from smartphones to electric vehicles to military systems. If you own a laptop, a phone, or a car made in the last decade, you depend on these materials. Right now, obtaining these metals on land is an environmental and logistical nightmare. Mines are running dry. Extraction is dirty and expensive. Supply chains are fragile and politically vulnerable. But down there in the abyss, trillions of dollars worth of these nodules are simply lying on the surface, waiting to be collected. The nation that controls access to these deep-sea mineral fields will control the global battery market. And in the 21st century, batteries are the new oil. Whoever dominates battery technology dominates transportation, energy storage, military capability, and economic growth for the next 100 years. But the metals are not even the most valuable resource down there. Buried in the sediment and locked in the seafloor is something called methane hydrate. Scientists sometimes call it fire ice. It looks like frozen white slush, but if you bring it to the surface and hold a flame to it, it burns. This substance is a super concentrated fuel source. Some estimates suggest that the energy trapped in global methane hydrate deposits exceeds all the oil, natural gas, and coal reserves on the planet combined. We are talking about a nearly infinite power source sitting at the bottom of the ocean. It sounds like the answer to every energy problem humanity has ever faced, but extracting it is like playing Russian roulette with a loaded weapon. The seafloor is unstable. If mining operations disturb these deposits incorrectly, they could trigger massive underwater landslides. But the real nightmare scenario is far worse. Methane is a greenhouse gas roughly 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. If extraction efforts destabilize large hydrate deposits, they could release enormous plumes of methane directly into the atmosphere. Climate scientists call this scenario a methane burp. It would accelerate global warming faster than any human activity in history. We are talking about a climate bomb buried at the bottom of the ocean.
Scientists have been testing the hypothesis that perhaps gas in the ocean could contribute to some of the mysterious things that we find happening.
Waiting to be triggered by a drill hitting the wrong spot. Despite these risks, the machinery is already being built. Giant robotic harvesters designed to crawl across the ocean floor are in development. They will scrape the bottom of the world to feed humanity's insatiable hunger for technology and energy. The question is not whether this extraction will happen. The question is who will control it, who will profit from it, And who will bear the consequences when something goes wrong? The pharmaceutical gold mine. Let us return to those microbes for a moment, because the implications extend far beyond academic biology. Remember the DNA repair mechanism. Let me explain what that actually means for you, for your family, for every human being currently alive. On the surface of the Earth, our cells are under constant attack. Ultraviolet radiation from the sun damages DNA. Pollution damages DNA. Even the normal metabolic processes that keep us alive generate byproducts that damage DNA. Our bodies have repair mechanisms, but they are imperfect. Over time, the damage accumulates faster than it can be fixed. That accumulation is aging. It is the fundamental reason we grow old. It is the reason our risk of cancer increases with every passing year. It is the reason our organs eventually fail and we die. But in the Mariana Trench, life operates by different rules. The pressure down there is so extreme it should literally tear DNA molecules apart. The damage should be instantaneous and overwhelming. But it is not. These organisms have evolved a supercharged repair system. They possess enzymes and proteins that function like an elite molecular construction crew, detecting and patching damage to their genetic code continuously and perfectly. They do not accumulate damage. They do not age the way we do. Biotechnology companies and pharmaceutical giants are looking at this discovery and seeing something unprecedented. If we can isolate those enzymes, if we can understand how they work and adapt them for human cells, we could theoretically prevent the cellular deterioration that causes aging. We could develop treatments that stop cancer before it ever takes hold by eliminating the DNA damage that initiates tumor formation. We are not talking about marginal improvements to existing therapies. We are talking about a fundamental revolution in how humanity relates to mortality itself. The applications extend beyond medicine. Consider the Hadal snailfish, one of the creatures that lives at these crushing depths.
A new record has been set for the deepest fish ever recorded, and according to scientists, this species isn't even meant to be a deep-sea fish.
It looks like a translucent ghost, a pale tadpole drifting through the darkness. It has no hard bones because rigid structures would shatter under the pressure. Instead, its body is suffused with specialized molecules that prevent cellular collapse. Engineers are studying these molecules to develop new materials. Imagine submarine hulls or spacecraft components that mimic the structure of deep-sea organisms, flexible, self-repairing, and virtually impossible to crush. The military applications alone are staggering. You could build autonomous drones capable of diving deeper than any sonar can track and remaining there for months, powered by the chemical energy of the environment itself. This is why the data from recent deep-sea missions has become so valuable. When researchers released portions of the genetic information they collected, it was like handing out a treasure map. Laboratories around the world are now racing to synthesize these proteins and develop practical applications. But this raises an enormous ethical question that nobody in power wants to answer publicly. If one nation cracks the code to anti-aging technology using resources extracted from international waters, will they share it with humanity? Or will biological immortality become a state secret, available only to the wealthy and powerful? History provides a very clear answer to that question, and that answer is terrifying. The new Cold War is wet. We are witnessing the construction of a new kind of empire, and most people have no idea it is happening. For the past 50 years, the United States has been the dominant force in the Pacific Ocean. American naval power has shaped the security architecture of the entire region. But the game has fundamentally changed, and the Mariana Trench has become the focal point of that transformation. The approaches to the deep ocean have split into two radically different strategies. On one side, you have the United States. The American approach has largely emphasized conservation, scientific research, and transparency. The trench has been designated a national monument. Research vessels like the Okeanos Explorer conduct mapping expeditions and stream footage to the public. The philosophy is to protect and understand the environment before industrial exploitation destroys it. It is the moral high ground, emphasizing knowledge over extraction. On the other side, you have China. The Chinese approach is far more aggressive and industrially oriented. They are not just mapping the ocean floor, they are preparing to occupy it. Reports indicate plans for a permanent deep-sea station, essentially an underwater base, where crews can live for extended periods, conducting research and resource extraction tests. This is not speculative fiction. Components are already being developed and tested. The technology is advancing rapidly, and the strategy does not rely solely on human presence. Chinese planners are developing swarms of AI-driven robotic gliders designed to operate autonomously at extreme depths.
It's different from most other undersea robots, and it has really long endurance. It's able to stay at sea for days to weeks to months at a time while measuring all sorts of ocean properties like temperature and salinity.
Instead of deploying one expensive, vulnerable, crewed submarine, you deploy hundreds of small, cheap, intelligent drones. They communicate with each other. They map terrain. They hunt for resources. If one fails, it does not matter. 99 more continue the mission. This approach creates a strategic nightmare for rival nations. If any nation establishes a permanent acoustic sensor network and drone swarm capability in the deep ocean, they gain the ability to monitor everything. They can track every submarine, every surface vessel, every significant movement across thousands of miles of ocean. The Mariana Trench becomes a listening post for half the globe. Submarine warfare, which has been the backbone of nuclear deterrence for decades, becomes fundamentally compromised. The balance of power shifts to whoever controls the deep. This is the new Cold War. It is quiet. It is dark. It is happening under pressures that would crush anything we send to observe it directly. The nation that masters the technology to operate at these depths will dominate the 21st century. It comes down to who has the best materials, the best artificial intelligence, and the best energy storage. And where do the critical materials for advanced batteries come from? Right there, scattered across the sea floor. It is a self-reinforcing cycle. You need the resources of the trench to build the technology to control the trench. The competition has become existential. The training ground for alien worlds. Here is where the story takes a turn that connects our ocean to the farthest reaches of the solar system. NASA is watching these deep-sea discoveries with just as much intensity as any military agency, perhaps more. The reason is profound. The Mariana Trench is the closest analog we have to alien oceans without leaving Earth's gravity. Right now, space agencies around the world are actively planning missions to Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. Both of these worlds are encased in miles of ice, but beneath those frozen shells, we are nearly certain that vast liquid oceans exist. Oceans that have been churning in complete darkness for billions of years. Oceans where no sunlight ever penetrates. Oceans where the only energy sources are chemical reactions and heat from the moon's cores. If life exists on those worlds, it will not look like anything from the sunlit surface of Earth. It will look exactly like what we just found in the Mariana Trench. The microbes metabolize toxic chemicals in total darkness. The fish survived pressure that would flatten military-grade steel. These organisms are the template for extraterrestrial life. By studying the creatures of the trench, we are learning how to search for life beyond our planet. The robotic systems being tested in the Pacific Ocean today are the direct prototypes for the machines that will swim beneath the ice of Europa in 20 years. Every mission to the deep ocean teaches us how to explore alien worlds, but the implications go even deeper than preparation for future missions. Some researchers have proposed what they call the shadow biosphere theory. For centuries, biology has assumed that all life on Earth shares a common ancestry. a single tree of life branching from one original Genesis event. Every organism, from bacteria to blue whales, uses the same fundamental genetic code. But the Mariana Trench challenges that assumption. What if there was a second genesis of life down there? What if organisms exist that use completely different biochemistry, thriving on arsenic or silicon rather than carbon, operating on genetic systems we do not even recognize as life? Some of the bizarre gelatinous structures observed by deep-sea rovers do not fit neatly into any known category. They might not be animals in any conventional sense. They might be biological colonies operating on an entirely different evolutionary tree, a parallel branch of life that has been developing separately for billions of years beneath our feet. We have spent decades searching for intelligent life among the stars. The truly alien life might be swimming in our own ocean 7 miles down, and we would not even recognize it if we saw it. And then there are the sounds. The deep ocean is not silent. It is a cacophony of strange noises, clicks and whistles, and low-frequency rumbles that travel for thousands of miles through the water. Some of these sounds have never been explained. In the late 1990s, NOAA recorded what became known as the bloop, an ultra-low-frequency sound so powerful it was detected by sensors separated by thousands of miles of ocean. Scientists eventually attributed it to ice quakes. But the acoustic signature was disturbingly organic. The abyss holds mysteries we have not even begun to categorize, let alone understand. The Pandora's box. We have already opened, while governments race to exploit the deep ocean and scientists race to understand it, there is a darker reality that almost nobody wants to discuss. We may have already contaminated the most pristine environment on Earth before we even finished exploring it. During one of the deepest robotic dives ever recorded, a lander touched down in the Challenger Deep. It was a moment of triumph, a technological achievement that took decades to accomplish. But when the cameras activated and began transmitting images, do you know what they showed? A beer bottle. Even deeper, they found a plastic bag.
Something?
It's a bottle.
As soon as we get here.
Look, it's a freaking bottle.
Wow.
Microplastics have been discovered inside the digestive systems of amphipods living at the deepest points in the ocean. These creatures have survived asteroid impacts and ice ages spanning hundreds of millions of years. Now they are choking on our garbage. But pollution is only part of the danger. The real threat might be what we are about to release. The sediment at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is a time capsule. It contains bacteria and viruses that have been dormant for millions of years, sealed away from the surface world long before humans existed. These are pathogens that modern immune systems have never encountered. We have no natural defenses against them. Our medical infrastructure has never even seen them. As mining operations begin dredging the seafloor for manganese nodules and drilling into the crust for methane hydrates, they will not just be disturbing sediment. They will be waking biological entities that have been dormant since before the dinosaurs. There is a non-trivial probability that the next global pandemic will not emerge from a wet market or a laboratory accident. It will be hauled up from the abyss, attached to the hull of a mining vessel, carried to the surface by machines designed to exploit resources without any consideration for biological containment. This is the terrible paradox of the deep ocean. We have the technology to extract miracles from down there, cures for diseases that have plagued humanity for millennia, energy sources that could power civilization for centuries, keys to understanding life itself. But that same technology allows us to pollute, contaminate, and destroy faster than ever before. We are behaving like looters in an ancient library, burning irreplaceable manuscripts to see better in the dark. Some researchers have proposed an even more unsettling possibility. The bioluminescence that pervades the deep ocean, the millions of glowing organisms creating light in total darkness, might not just be a hunting mechanism. It might be communication. The vast network of luminescent life forms could constitute something like a planetary neural network, a distributed biological intelligence that has been operating beneath the waves for longer than complex life has existed on land. If the deep ocean functions as a coherent system, something approaching a single vast organism, how long before it begins to react to the infection that is humanity? So this is not an ending, it's an inflection point. The Mariana Trench has crossed from obscurity into strategy, from mystery into leverage. What was once beyond reach is now being mapped, sampled, and quietly claimed. In the darkness below, biology has rewritten the rules of survival, and on the surface above, nations are already recalculating power, longevity, and control. History has taught us what happens when transformative discoveries arrive before ethical consensus. The deep doesn't announce its consequences. It releases them slowly, irreversibly. We've opened a door 7 miles down and stepped into a realm that doesn't belong to any flag, yet will define them all. The question now isn't whether this frontier will change the world. It's who decides how and at what cost. Because once the abyss stops being ignored and starts being understood, it doesn't stay silent for long. And when its influence finally reaches the surface, will we recognize the moment we crossed a line, or only realize it after there's no turning back?